Hi guys, I'm Anita and I'm back with another video. Today's video is going to be a TBR video for the summer romance book bingo readathon that's going on. This is a 3-month-long readathon where you read as many romance books that fit into these squares as possible, and one bingo board has 25 squares and you can finish the bingo board as many times as you need to, and you don't have to read all of the squares on the bingo board. There are different sort of patterns that you can go for, and when you go to the bingo board it will be sort of an interactive one that will change whenever you refresh it, so it will change its positions. However, I want to try and read all of them, so just jotted down all of the ones that was on my bingo board when I started it, looking for books, and we'll see how it goes. I haven't started reading yet and we are almost a week into June, so let's see how it's all gonna go. This readathon was created by Not Just Romance Novels, and it's co-hosted by romance queen of BookTube, and I initially found out about this from Shannon Riddler, and I've also seen Giselle do her TBRs, and I think Becky from Beck's Books is joining in as well, even though she was talking about not doing it. But yeah, there are 25 squares and I'm gonna attempt reading all of them. We'll see. I put down some options for all of the squares that I'm gonna try and get to, and some of them I haven't found anything yet, but I'll get to that eventually. Later when I want to get to that book, and maybe I'll read something and it fits anyway. So we'll see. First up, Set at the Beach, and for that one I chose a Kindle book that I've had on my Kindle for ages. That's called One Sweet Summer by, I forgot the author's name, but there's a beach on the cover, and I believe that the series is called something with Isles, so it's set on an island. Yeah, so that's the one I went with for this one. And the next prompt is set in a major city, and for that I'm gonna go with Deadly Alchemy. Again, I forgot to write down the author's name, so I apologize for that, but there is big band in the background, so I presume that this is mostly set in London, and this is a paranormal romance book as well. And for the Harlequin category romance, I chose Waking Up Married, which I've had on my Kindle since the beginning, like the very beginning. It was one of the first books I got on there because it was free on Kindle, and I never got around to reading it. The next square on my board was a book part of a series, and for that I chose The Perfect Hope by NORA. This is the third and final book in the In Boonesborough trilogy, so it'd be nice to actually finish this series. I really enjoyed the first one, The Next Always. The second one was a little boring, I think, which I don't remember what it's called right now. I think The Last Boyfriend or something. And then The Perfect Hope is, I really like Hope as a character, so I hope that I will enjoy it, and I think it's an enemies to lovers plot because the last brother is one of, and her has had this annoyances with each other since the beginning, so yeah. I'm hoping to finish that for sure. For the 2018 Reader Finalist, I haven't found a specific book yet that I wanted, but I checked all of the books on Kindle to see if there was any one of those that was on sale, and there was one of them called Save the Date. It was only $1.99, so I'm considering getting that one. It's a short book as well, but I'll have to see when I get closer if I can actually manage to fit it in. Then I'll read it then. And now we are on to the second row, and for that the first square was historical romance, and for that I'm gonna read The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn, because I want to continue the Bridgerton series. I really enjoyed the first one when I read it in 2016, and I haven't read the second one. I had it on my Kindle all this time, but I didn't get around to reading it, and so now I'm ready to get back to it, and I can also listen to the audio, which I think will help me a lot with this, getting back into all of these books, because right now I'm mostly listening to audios. That's more or less the only way I get through books these days, because it's so hot that I can't concentrate of actually sitting down and reading. So I hope also that the weather changes a bit so I can get back to my normal reading mojo, but we'll see. The second square on second row is a one-word title, and for that I'm gonna read Repressed by Elisabeth Norton. I've read 4 of her books before and I've really enjoyed all of them, so I hope that I also will enjoy this one, and I have a NetGalley arc of the second one, so if I like it I can dip into Gone afterwards. And the next one is a less than 1,000 reviews on Goodreads, and I was actually wondering whether she was talking about reviews or ratings. For this one I chose one that was lower than 1,000 on both counts, and for that I'm going to read Sweet Resolve by Jill Sanders. This is another NetGalley arc that I got ages ago that I haven't gotten around to read, and I read the first one, thought it was okay, and want to continue and see if the second one is better. Next one is a cover buy, and I don't often buy a cover buy without knowing essentially what this is about, like which genre it's for and which type of like if it's an urban fantasy, I also want to know if it's a shifters or if it's witches or if it's vampires or something, so that I know what to go in for. So I never really do just cover buy, just in general. But one of those that I've bought that I absolutely love the cover, and as well as I'm really interested in the book because I've heard very great things about it as well, is Born Wicked by Jessica Spotswood. And I mostly actually got this because of Jessica Spotswood's short story that I read in Tyranny of Petticoats, and that is why I wanted to read some of her longer books. And this is a urban fantasy with witches, and I'm not sure, but I think it may have LGBT themes, but I'm not 100% sure about this. But something I feel like I've heard that somewhere, but we'll see when I get to it. I hope to get to it this month, so very eager. And the next one on this second row is Cowboy, and I haven't put down anything for this one yet either. That will again be something I will pick something when I get closer to having gone through some of these books, because I don't at the top of my head can think of anything that I have on my Kindle or access to on my different surfaces. So we'll see if I have to buy something when we get to that. The third row across, the first one is inspirational, and I haven't found anything for this one, but I think I do have a couple of Christian themed romance books, but it's not something I'm usually gravitating towards. I read them sometimes, and sometimes they're good, but sometimes I've also been really annoyed with them because I'm not religious one bit, and sometimes I mean, this was not a romance, but I read a mystery once. It was like, she was just telling me that if you didn't go to church, you're probably the killer, and it's like, yeah, I don't really go to church, so okay, so I'm a killer or what? That was just a little weird, and so I haven't continued with that series. It was a little too, too much for me. Anyway, moving on. The next one is a book published in 2018. I put down The Dragon's Thief, which is urban fantasy paranormal romance thing, and it's only like 100 pages. I'm not sure how much romance that's in it, but I decided I could go with this one and see how it goes. If it's not romance heavy enough, if it's more like an urban fantasy with a bit of steam, I'll try and find something else. But this was a short one, and this is a 2018 release, I think from January. So, a reader's choice, I haven't decided on that yet. That will be whatever I read that fits. All of the romance books that I read will fit for that one, so that depends a lot on what I read when I get to that. The next one on this list is PNR. The next one on this row was paranormal romance, a subgenre paranormal romance, and for that I decided to go with Guilty Pleasures by Lauren K. Hamilton, the first one in the Anita Blake series. I wanted to start this series for ages. I've heard that the first 10 books are amazing, and then that goes downhill from there. And I've also heard that some really just enjoy all of them. But I'm curious also because the main protagonist is called the same thing as me. So next one is contemporary romance, and for that I'm gonna go with Fall from India Place by Samantha Young, which I have on my Audible, and I've had it on my Audible since January or February of last year, so like a long time. the fourth one is a book set outside of your country, and for me that's easy because I live in Denmark, and so it would be easy to find something set outside my own country. However, I will wait and see if I find something that is a little more than just England or the US, and see if I find something that's set in Italy, France, somewhere else. We'll see what I find out. Otherwise I can't go with a US book, but it would be too easy. The second square on this row was someone in the medical field, and I haven't decided on a specific book for this, but I believe I have a couple of books on my Kindle that are with someone in the medical field. And a book with a cat or a dog on the cover. I know I saw that not long ago, but I didn't write it down, and I had that on my Kindle so I can read it. It was something that had both a cat and a dog. If I remember it, I will put the cover here so you can see which book I'm referring to. And this next square is writing under a pseudonym. I was thinking of Nora Roberts, just reading a Nora Roberts book for this, but that's not her pseudonym name, that's her actual name. And my in-depth book is wrapped up in my wrapping paper. Obviously I could find it easily, but I'd rather save that for an unwrapping video later. Instead, I'm gonna go with Crystal Garden by Amanda Quick. Amanda Quick is a pseudonym name for, I believe, Jane Ann Krentz, or it's Jane Castle. That's the same author that writes under all of those three names, but I believe Jane Ann Krentz is her real name. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is a historical set paranormal romance, and I'm excited to get into it. It is, I thought it was one of those long ones, but it's only a 2-book series, but I'm unsure if it's actually a spin-off or something, but I'll read it and see if I can figure things out and go from there. The next one is a romantic suspense, and I haven't picked anything for this one, but if I like repressed, I might read Gone and use that because I believe she always writes romantic suspense and paranormal romance. That's at least what I've been reading so far by Elizabeth Norton. Either that, I'll see what I have, because I have a ton of romantic suspense on my Kindle so that I can choose between. On the fifth row, the first square is featuring a musician, and for that I'm gonna use Ink My Heart by Jean House. I recently purchased this, so this is perfect. I really am looking forward to reading this. This is one of my... The first one was one of my favorite books in 2015. I think it was an easy 5-star read for me because it was so easy to get through, and it was... for a new adult, it's one of the best I've read. But I never read on in it. I don't know how it's gonna be with another set of characters in that world. But I believe this is going to be following this guy called Nick, who is, I believe, the guitarist in the band. Luminescent Juliet is the band name. But I'm interested in reading on in it, and so we'll see how that turns out. Yeah. And the next one is a sports romance, and for that I'm going to read Unruly, another recent purchase that I think centers around baseball. So yeah, definitely also really interested in this one, and I think it maybe it follows 2 romances that has connections some way, and I really enjoy those type of romances where we have more different to follow. Next one, a small town setting. I have quite a lot of those, I think, on my Kindle, but I'll have to see which one I will go for. I love small town settings. My first thought was reading a Virgin River book, but the next one in that series is a Christmas story, and I don't feel like reading a Christmas story in a summer bingo, so I will wait until later. And for a standalone, I'm gonna go with a Sophie Kinsella book, because I am a little bit behind on her books. I have My Not So Perfect Life or Wedding Night of her standalones that I still haven't read, and I think she has one coming out, or it just came out or something, but those 2 are the ones that I'm considering, just because I haven't read Sophie Kinsella in a while and I really enjoy her books. They're a lot of fun, and while they're not regular straight up romance, they're chick lits, and they often contain romance in some way, and so I'm very looking forward to getting back into Sophie Kinsella. The last and final book on the bingo sheet is a book with more than 10,000 reviews. Again, I don't know if it's 10,000 reviews or 10,000 ratings, because there's a big difference, and there's really not a whole lot of romances that has more than 10,000 reviews. So I decided to go for classics and maybe read Persuasion by Jane Austen, because that has definitely more than 10,000, but I think it was only around, it was not that far off, and I was surprised about that. But Persuasion I have on my Kindle because it's free on Kindle, and so I may read that one and see how that goes. I have tried and I tried to read Pride and Prejudice a couple of years ago, and I couldn't really get into it. I might try and reread that at one point, but yeah, we'll see about it. Yeah, but these were all of the books that I'm I'm considering for the specific challenges. I also have Fortune's Pawn by Rachel Bach, which I know is a sci-fi trilogy, but I know it has quite a lot of romance in the storyline as well. So I could use that for maybe Reader's Choice, maybe it fits something else, I'm not sure. I'll have to see if there's something that it will fit as well. I also have Aristotle and Dante Discovers the Secrets of the Universe. I don't know how romance heavy this is, but I know it's LGBT. I know it's starts with a friendship that turns into more. So I believe that it could work. And I also have The Villa by NORA Roberts, which she only writes romances. Like, she's always writes romances, and this is a standalone, so I'm not. So it could also be the one I use for standalone, but since I'm reading a lot of audios recently, I think I'll still stick to the Sophie Kinsella and maybe read this later on and see if it works for something else. And maybe the romantic suspense, because she also often writes romantic suspense when she writes her standalones. So. And the final one I also have is The Rose and the Dagger by readathon, the last and final book in the Wrath and Dawn duology. This is an 1001 Night retelling thing, Arabian Nights retelling, and really enjoyed the first one. Would like to see how this ends up. Definitely romance heavy, but YA romance, so not explicitly, but romance anyway. So these are just things I've been thinking about reading for this challenge. Let me know in the comments down below if you're participating in the summer romance bingo, book bingo thing down below. I'd really like to know. And I know that I don't often, romance is not my most read genre any longer, but I used to read a lot of it, and I would like to get back into reading those things and mix them up with my fantasy, so that, because sometimes the fantasy can take up so much time, and sometimes you need space from that. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into some romance books, and just especially also now when I don't feel like reading those heavy fantasy books. It's gonna be nice with some urban fantasy and some romance books and thrillers and stuff. So yeah, but this was my video for today. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Goodbye!